Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over the updated 538 forecast model in which it has Donald Trump winning the 2024 presidential election for the first time versus Kamala Harris. Now, originally when Biden was still in the race, they did have Donald Trump up at some times, but this is his first lead over Kamala Harris on the newly updated 538 model. First lead ever. But before we get started with the model, make sure you guys are subscribed, click the bell so you don't miss on my content, press the like button, share this video. If you're interested, we have memberships. Don't forget, we have the link to that in the description section. Now, as of right now, Donald Trump wins 51 times out of the 100. Kamala Harris wins 49 times out of the 100. And there are 1,000 simulations in which 511 of them Donald Trump wins. Harris, on the other hand, wins 486, so she is now trailing Donald Trump with the 1,000 simulations that 538 has ran. And just 3 of those simulations had no winner, meaning that's either a tie or a third-party candidate ends up winning, which is extremely unlikely. As you can see right here, there is less than a 1 in a 100% chance of no electoral college winner. So if you scroll down over here, you can take a look at the brand new polling right over here from a bunch of these pollsters. You have the Emerson, you have YouGov, you have even Fox News, and some other pollsters. But if you actually scroll down right here, they give Donald Trump 271 electoral votes, barely winning the presidency in an extremely tight, close election. And keep in mind that they severely overestimated him in 2020 and in 2016. So his lead, realistically, when you do apply that polling error on average, basically in every single presidential election, on average, there's roughly a 4% polling error, either in favor of Republicans or Democrats. In this case, it's going to favor Donald Trump, obviously, as he's literally always underestimated. So realistically, he can win more than just 271 electoral votes to Kamala Harris's 268. So you take a look at the popular vote. They give Kamala Harris the popular vote with 51% of the overall national vote to Donald Trump's nearly 49%. So she is winning the popular vote by around the same margin Hillary Clinton did in 2016. And as we all know, she lost overwhelmingly, like over 300 electoral votes. So Kamala Harris is winning the popular vote by just a couple points of 2 percentage points, which I think could be realistic. And then you take a look at the win probability. Donald Trump, obviously, 51% chance to Kamala Harris is 49%. It's essentially a tie, but Donald Trump has the upper hand very narrowly. This is their battleground map ratings for every single major swing state. As we all know, Pennsylvania is probably the most important state, the deciding factor, the tipping point state, as we call it. I also do think that Arizona is a very important state as well, and people are really underestimating that. But these are the margins for every single state, the swing ones at least, and the states highlighted in yellow, we will be filling them out according to the 538 model. So we take a look at Pennsylvania. It's basically an even tie, 50-50 for either candidate, but Donald Trump does indeed break the tiebreaker, because you take a look at the simulations, as you can see right here, Donald Trump wins 503 of those simulations in the state of Pennsylvania. To Kamala Harris is 497 out of the 1,000. So yes, Donald Trump barely wins the state of Pennsylvania by a tilt margin of under a percentage point according to the 538 model, taking the state's 19 electoral votes. And this is actually going to be a flip according to 538. Now, on RCP, it's actually different. Donald Trump was always leading in the state of Pennsylvania for the most majority of the time, at least. And as for Wisconsin, Kamala Harris is favored in this state very narrowly according to 538's model. Now, you take a look at RCP. Donald Trump has just recently flipped this state. Harris wins 51 out of the 100 simulations, or times at least, and Donald Trump has a 49% chance of winning the state of Wisconsin. And she wins 510 simulations to Donald Trump's 490. So he is trailing the state of Wisconsin by a narrow tilt margin of under a percentage point according to the 538 forecast model. And then we take a look at the state of Nevada with its 6 electoral votes. Kamala Harris is also favored in this state. She has a 52% chance of winning the state to Donald Trump's 48%. And out of the 1,000 simulations, she wins 520 of them to Donald Trump's 480 in the state of Nevada. Now, keep in mind, when Donald Trump won the election in 2016, he obviously flipped the 3 Rust Belt states, but he still did not manage to win the state of Nevada. And polls typically actually do overestimate Republicans, which is basically the opposite of any other battleground state. But yes, Nevada is that one state that does overestimate Republicans' chances. So Kamala Harris will win the state of Nevada according to 538's election forecast model. And then you take a look at Michigan with its 15 electoral votes. Kamala Harris is also favored in this state. She wins 53 out of the 100 times to Donald Trump's 47% chance. And you take a look at the simulations out of the 1,000, Kamala Harris wins 533 of them to Donald Trump's 467. So she is favored to pull off the victory in the state of Michigan. Now, I will say one thing is to keep an eye on the large uncommitted vote that roughly 100,000 voters voted uncommitted in the Democratic primaries in the state of Michigan that can really sway the vote in favor of Donald Trump. I'm just saying. And then as for the next battleground state of North Carolina, Donald Trump is favored to win this state by a lean margin, 58 out of the 100 times. Kamala Harris is sitting at a 42% chance of winning the state of North Carolina. You take a look at the simulations, Donald Trump wins 576 of them in this state to Kamala Harris's 424. So North Carolina will be lean red for the former president. Now, this state actually just had a hurricane here, so maybe that could impact and affect the voting. I'm not sure how that's going to go because maybe the hurricane impacted, the impact was worse on red counties rather than blue counties, more like rural areas rather than urban areas. So maybe that can really sway the race in favor of Kamala Harris. Also, Mark Robinson on the governorship is really dragging down the race, hurting Donald Trump. So maybe this could be closer than expected, but still, as we saw in 2020, 538 underestimated Trump support in the state of North Carolina. So he will be favored in that state, which is not really a surprise to anybody. And as for Georgia, Donald Trump is going to flip this state just how he does in Pennsylvania, according to the 538 model forecast. With its 16 electoral votes, Donald Trump has a 63% chance of winning this state, nearly two-thirds to Kamala Harris's 37% chance of keeping the state of Georgia blue, because as we all know, Biden had nearly won this state back in 2020. Trump wins 630 simulations to Kamala Harris's 370 simulations. So Georgia, just like North Carolina, will be lean for the former president. And the main reason why Biden won this state was because he got high turnout among African-American voters in the Atlanta area, obviously the metropolitan area, the suburbs especially. Kamala Harris does not have the same enthusiasm that Biden once did in 2020. Obviously, you had COVID go against Donald Trump. You had the BLM stuff go in favor of Joe Biden. You also had the major celebrity endorsements go in favor of Joe Biden against Donald Trump. And now you don't even have that anymore. So Donald Trump will be probably favored to win Georgia according to the 538 model forecast and RCP. Basically anything you take a look at, Donald Trump consistently has leads in both North Carolina, Georgia, and now in Pennsylvania as well. His lead is growing in that state. And then as for Arizona, Donald Trump is winning 63 times out of Kamala Harris's 37 times. The exact margin he is winning in Georgia by. And both of these states, Arizona and Georgia, actually vote in the same direction. Basically similar margins, because in 2020, Arizona and Georgia both went to Biden by roughly 0.3% together. And even in 2016 as well, they also had similar margins, although Georgia did actually vote to the right of the state of Arizona. But he's winning 628 simulations in the state of Arizona to Kamala Harris's 372. Keep in mind, this is a border state. It's a losing issue for Kamala Harris. She can't address immigration at all whatsoever. Therefore, Trump has the advantage in the state of Arizona, according to the 538 forecast model, and also RCP averages as well. So he actually gets 281 electoral votes because of Pennsylvania, but 538, oddly enough, actually has it at 271 electoral votes for Donald Trump, and Kamala Harris will get 257 electoral votes. This is the 538 map according to the forecast model. Yet again, this is not my prediction. As of right now, this is the map according to the 538 model. Let me know what states you agree with or disagree with in the comment section down below. In my opinion, I would have to disagree with Wisconsin and Nevada. But as far as Michigan goes, I'm not really too sure about that state. I think it's a complete toss-up. As of right now, either candidate can really win it at this point. But if you take a look at the margins for every single battleground state, Kamala Harris is winning Wisconsin by 0.1%. As you can see right here, according to 538's forecast. And in Nevada, she's winning by even more than Wisconsin, by 0.3%. And in Michigan, her lead is greater in there than both of those states by 0.5%. But all of these are extremely small victories And by the way, Wisconsin had one of the worst polling error out of any other state in the 2020 election, with the exception for New York. They predicted Biden right before the election would win by 6 points. He did not get anywhere near that. He only won by under percent of 0.6%, just 20,000 votes. So considering that polling error was massive against Trump, I do think he will win this state by even more than what the polls are suggesting. And he just flipped Wisconsin, by the way, in RCP. I actually made a video about that previously. And then in North Carolina, they give Donald Trump a roughly 1.2% victory, which is actually the same amount of margin that Biden won Pennsylvania by in the 2020 election. Just a fun fact there. And then in Georgia, Donald Trump is projected to win by 2 percentage points. So the 538's model actually has North Carolina voting to the left of Georgia. Let me know if you agree with that in the comment section down below, because in 2020, North Carolina actually voted to the right of Georgia, but in 2016, Georgia actually voted to the right of North Carolina, which is actually the complete opposite. So they actually went back and forth. They took turns. And then in Arizona, Donald Trump also has a 2 percentage point lead, just how he does in the state of Georgia. So those are the margins in those states. So if you take a look at these different type of hypothetical scenarios, they give Kamala Harris a greater chance slightly at winning more than 350 electoral votes, even though it's low for both candidates. Obviously, 14% for her, but Donald Trump is only at 4%. In my opinion, I would argue Trump probably has a greater chance of getting past 350 than Kamala does, even though I don't believe any of them will obviously pass that, as no one thinks that's going to happen. And they give Kamala Harris a 34% chance of winning the Electoral College with less than 350 electoral votes. And they give Donald Trump a 47% chance of winning the Electoral College with less than 350 electoral votes. So these are the scenarios, and as we take a look at the popular vote, which we talked about earlier, in which Kamala Harris is winning it by 2 points, which I think is, I think that's pretty fair, similar to 2016 for Hillary Clinton. So they give Kamala Harris a 67% chance of winning the popular vote. In my opinion, I think Donald Trump actually has a really decent shot of winning it. If he really makes New York competitive, possibly, I think that can possibly happen, and Virginia as well. Some of these typical solid blue states, and New Jersey maybe, that can possibly be taken for consideration. And then they give Donald Trump an 82% chance of winning at least one state he didn't in 2020. So they give Trump an 82% chance of flipping at least one state. And in my opinion, it's going to be Georgia at the most likeliest, because it was the closest in 2020, obviously. That's just basically logical. And then 48% chance for Kamala Harris of winning at least one state Biden did not win in 2020, which I disagree with. I personally think it's much, much lower than 48%. I think that's too high. And basically the only state that she can possibly flip that Biden did not win is only North Carolina, which as of right now, Trump is going to win that. So I think they're actually overestimating her support in that aspect. So that's pretty much it. This is the model. You can take a look at it for yourself. That's pretty much it. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. This is the newly updated map according to 538. Donald Trump is now favored for the first time versus Kamala Harris. One last final reminder is to subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss all my content, press the like button, share this video. Don't forget we have memberships. You can find a link to that in the description section if you are interested. Thank you everyone for watching.